Neebz, aka Watch with Neebz, and I'm here with my co-host Jazz, aka The Rings of Jazz.
I was wondering if you're gonna go with the obvious one or not, but here we are.
You know what? I gotta get the obvious ones out the way so that we can go do creative ones. Cause then you know what? Everyone's gonna say, "Why didn't you do that one?" And I'm gonna be like, you know what, man? It doesn't feel as nice when you do the obvious one later on in the year. Then it feels like you don't have fresh
Mhm.
ideas. You're running out of fresh ideas. But if you do in the beginning, then it's like, oh, you got the obvious one taken care of.
That's true. That's true. I just feel like it was low hanging fruit, but that makes a lot of sense.
You know what you gotta do, man? You gotta give people like expectations, man. So like, all right, man, we're all right. We
Manage
gotta
them.
nowhere to go but the top, man.
Let's keep rising.
Yeah, kind of like rising to Mount Doom.
Mount Doom in episode 1.
Yes, yes, yes. So, guys, welcome to our new episode of The Rings of Power. We have not done The Rings of Power yet, but it's a show we just started. And you know what? We're a few episodes behind. So, we're going to do all 3 episodes in one shot. How do you feel about that, Jazz?
um, let's see, because we may end up having to do 2 episodes if we really get into it. If not, we'll try to knock off all 3 at once.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it'll be cool. And I also want to bring on some guests. So if you are a Lord of the Rings fan, if you are a fan of Rings of Power and you want to come on our podcast, and if you just happen to know a lot of Tolkien folklore, let us know and we'll have you on. We would love to have you on. Me and Jazz
You know
are
what?
no expert. What?
I'm gonna try and get my 11th grade English teacher.
Yeah?
He was a big Tolkien nerd, so let's see if we can get Dr. Holt back on here. I
Oh,
haven't
interesting.
talked to this man in like what 12, 14 years now.
You keep
Let's see
in
if he remembers me.
you keep in touch with your teachers? I don't think any of my teachers know me, man.
Oh,
Not a
I do not
single
keep in
one.
touch with him. That's the issue.
Hey, do you know what? I was in your class like 14 years ago. I have a podcast now, which means that I have not accomplished much in life. Would you like to come on? Is
Let's
that
do
how
it.
it's gonna go?
It'll be great. It'll be great. It'll be great.
All right, all right. So we'll do that. But anyone else, if you guys are a fan of the show and you guys would like to be on and you guys want to talk about Rings of Power, let us know. We're gonna have some people on. But for now, you're stuck with just me and Jazz until we get, a few more people interested. That's the one thing about starting new shows. We don't know who's watching what. So once we figure that out, we'll have you guys on and it'll be a lot of fun. All right.
Good, my guy. Let's do this.
But Jazz, what is your background with Lord of the Rings? Because I love Lord of the Rings. Like it is one of my favorite things to watch. When I watched the Two Towers in theaters, like I was like, whoa, this is cinema. Like it was an experience. Like you know how people feel when they watch Endgame and No Way Home? I think the first time I ever felt that way was
Return of the King.
no, not Return of the King. It's actually the Two Towers, man.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like when everybody was fighting in the castle and like Legolas and what you call it? I forgot the name of the dwarf. Oh my god, why is it skipping me? But they were counting how many kills they got, and it was just so much battles were happening. Oh my god, it was so good, so good.
And the
Um,
dead comes up, and then yeah, they finish everything off. Yeah, good times.
what was it? Helm's Deep? Was that it? The Battle of Helm's Deep? Was that what that was?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Battle of Helm's Deep, man. I swear that was like I was like, whoa, what am I experiencing right now? So I'm really excited for this show. Part of me wishes this show was on in theaters, man, because it's so beautiful, man. This show is so cinematic. Like I just really, really enjoy the cinematography. What about you?
So that's like the one thing I truly love about the show is how much detail. Well, no, not always, but the cinematography is beautiful. CGI is beautiful. Some details are just gorgeous, and then some details I'm just like, really, you missed that? Okay, wow.
Mm,
Like what I'm specifically talking about. When in the opening shot when they were having that war, right, the first war they were in,
yeah.
the armor of the elves, right, look kind of plain to me, and like the elves are known for like this intricate design on their armor. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so some little details Amazon did miss, but then later on they fixed it with like the ornaments and the intricacies on their, the hilt of the sword or the shields or even their armor. Like you see it then, right? But in the first scene, I was like, I guess kind of missed it.
Well, let me ask you this, because the first battle, they say that this was so early that the sun has never set yet, right? So they're trying to make people believe that it was so early uh, in like the time period. So maybe that's why there wasn't so much intricacy. And as time grew, they were able to, because even their outfits, like when Galadriel and her brother were like in the I don't know, a meadow. Even their clothing was very plain and very like, nothing special. So I guess like a lot of that had to do with them aging, and it's supposed to show how years progress. That would
That's,
be my guess.
the war did last 400 years, and then maybe afterward start doing all that. But I don't know, man. I'm still like classic Lord of the Rings. Like I want like the elves to just be like perfect, you know? Like I'm just kind of used to it. I kind of expect it. Sure, maybe they did try to progress that, but I was like, nah, I
So,
caught you, bro.
so if you guys are not familiar, I think what's happening, and might need to do a little bit more research on this, but they have condensed the timeline. The timeline of all of this was supposed to be like several thousand years, and they just kind of condensed a little bit so you can stay with one character long enough, right? Because elves age very differently, man ages very differently. So, the dwarfs age differently, and so do the Harfoots, right? So it was a way for people to kind of tell one story, and then basically like we don't have to go into like so many seasons or skip so much stuff, or lose characters in between. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the reason they kind of did that, which kind of makes sense. What about you? What do you think, Jazz? About
Yes, in episode 2, when they did visit the dwarf king and all that, like they did say, you missed my wedding, you missed the birth of my children, where have you been? And they did age, 20 years, I believe it was,
yeah.
like in the blink of an eye, really. And so, yeah, they're trying to condense it, but I am gonna notice these things just because I'm that guy. I'll be very honest. I am nitpicking here. This is not fair completely to Amazon. I am nitpicking, and you know
Okay.
what? If you're gonna spend $1 billion on a show, it better be perfect.
Okay. I don't think it has to be perfect, man. I think
Doesn't
that
have
I think expectations like that are a little too high. But like I did like the fact that well, we're gonna get into this later because I really love the exchange between Elrond and Prince Doran. Wow, I love that. But we'll get into that later because but yeah, he missed 20 years of his life, but to an elf, that's nothing. Is
right.
nothing to an elf, right?
Blink of an eye.
So it's kind of weird how like time flows in on this show. So I really like that about the show. So time flows so differently for different races, and I think that's pretty interesting. But let's go back to the beginning where let's say Galadriel, is that her name? Galadriel.
Galadriel.
Galadriel. Galadriel and her brother are basically, having this moment, and he is on the fight to, win the kingdom. Oh wait, some people are in the chat. Oh, what Razi, what's going on, bro? Look at that, look at that. With all that money,
Yeah,
Amazon
he's
better love his
right.
goods. Okay, he agreed with you. He
Mm-hmm.
agreed with you. All right, I'm not mad at it. All right, fine, fine. You guys win. Okay, so basically,
Love you, bro.
so base. Let's talk about this because she is a woman on a mission, right? Like she wants to fight Sauron, and her brother died. The sigil was left, and she's been on a quest. And then everyone's like, you know what? I think you've done enough. You chased this wild goose chase for a while. Your fight is over. Why don't you just go to heaven?
It's funny how the king can decide that, because that's one of my legitimate criticisms of this show, is like, why does King Gilgalad decide, hey, you get to go to heaven?
It's
Like,
wild. And I do like the lore that it brought, because I think this was actually in Lord of the Rings too, right? They
mhm,
also show this, but basically they get to go to this place and it's another realm, basically.
mhm.
And the gods have separated Middle Earth and the world they live in and this plane. And when the elves get to finish whatever they want to do on Earth, because elves get to live for a very, very long time, they can just go to paradise, and this is their paradise. But she chose not to go to paradise. She chose to come back because part of her felt like, you know what, there's something still out there, and I thought that was very interesting. What are your thoughts about that, Jazz?
So, as a workaholic,
Yeah,
I understand that.
she's a
Sometimes
workaholic. Is that how you
she's a
describe it?
workaholic. Let's be honest. She's a workaholic, right? She's a military commander. She commands the Northern armies. And when it was time for her to retire, she's like, No. When it's time for her to go to heaven, no. I'm gonna jump off the boat instead and go back to fighting.
Homie's married
Can't
to her
stop.
job.
Yeah, she's like Captain America. Like once the fighting stops, what is he? You know, like
For sure, sure. But okay, how would you describe the first episode overall? Because a lot of people are saying it's slow, and honestly, I have to tend to agree with them. But I feel like I was just very tired. You and me were both at ISNA. We were in a hotel room. I don't know why you made the hotel room so dark. Like I just fell asleep half that episode because like
okay.
I was so tired.
I
And
wanted to absorb the cinematics. Okay.
yo, I don't know why you made that room so dark, man. It creeped me out, and I was like, I was like falling asleep. I was just like nodding off. So the first episode was really slow, man. It was really hard for me to pay attention, but I really loved the second one, and the third one. I'm like, okay, we're ready to go. This is a show. That's how I felt. What about you?
So I agree. The first two were pretty slow. The first one, uh, oh my god, that when they were fighting that snow troll, and I'm like, wait a second, are you trying to be Game of Thrones here? Because Game
Mm.
of Thrones is trying to be a more edgy Lord of the Rings, and so I was like, why are y'all trying to copy each other at this point?
Wait, what do you mean? I would say a snow troll would be more common in Lord of the Rings because didn't aren't trolls common in Lord of the Rings?
So not the troll itself, but the fight and the gore that came from it. I didn't
Oh,
expect gore from Lord of the Rings because, like, I'm like, if you look at Peter Jackson's trilogy, right? Like, he did a wonderful job making all his movies without a lot of like just guts flying everywhere. But in the first episode, when she slices that troll, like you just see blood all over her sword and everything. It's like, oh, okay, it's gonna be that kind of show. But then, like, we barely see any of it later on, so I'm just like, that's okay. That's an interesting choice. Um,
fair,
After
fair.
that, it just got very slow. Once she got back to the king, yeah, it was very slow up until like the very end of episode one. And then, when the media starts coming in, we're like, oh, okay, okay, maybe something's happening. Something's happening. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, she jumped off the boat. Cool, 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 cool. And then the episode ends. I'm like, oh, damn it.
Yo, shout out to that snow troll, man. He was just minding his own business, just chilling in his house. These motherfuckers come in there and start like messing up shit. He's like, yo, it's breaking and entering. He had the right to defend his house, and like they killed him. I feel bad for
They
that homie.
did kill him. Like, that was so bad. Poor little snow troll.
Yeah, I was pretty sad for him. But okay, cool. But let's talk about the story between the Halfoots, or as they like to say, Harfords. I love the way they pronounce it, Harfords.
Mhm.
The
Comfort.
little Irish accent or whatever kind of accent that they have, I think is pretty whimsical and endearing. But you know what? They're my favorite part. I don't know. I love it, and like I like Nori. Number one, shout out for Nori having a Muslim name because Nori, Nora, all derived from the same thing. So that's my homie, and my niece is named Nora, so I love that name.
That's
Uh,
cute.
but like I really like her story. It gives me Samwise and Frodo vibes. I don't care if they're
They
recreating it.
are they
I
are
don't
the de
care.
facto hobbits of this show. Like, I'm so glad they brought that element back at least.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad. You can copy that exact thing. I don't care. I don't care. It's enjoyable. I love it. And so, what exactly are the Harfoots? Because from what my understanding is that they are the ancestors of the Hobbit, and the Hobbits turned into Harfoots. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so they're not hobbits yet, but they're kind of like hobbits. Okay,
And they're
got it.
halflings. They're halflings.
They're halflings. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And hobbits are called halflings, so I guess like in a way they're kind of still hobbits, I guess.
Mhm.
Because I okay, interesting. But they have this rule
The
where they
lineage there, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, so they have this rule where they cannot interfere with big people, right? And I love the fact that they don't consider themselves small. They consider other people giants, which is like,
Mhm.
hey, we're the standard. You guys are just freaking giants. I like that. We to have confidence in your race. I love that positivity.
I
Yeah, man.
appreciated that. Mhm.
Yeah, man. Halfling excellence. We believe in that. I love that. But it's cool. I like their story, and I like this little culture they have about like they're kind of like nomadish, where they just like keep traveling, and they stay away from these giants. They don't interfere with other people, and they just go from one place to another. But they leave people behind, and they have this little culture of like respecting the people they left behind. But it's still kind of like pretty harsh culture. And then when you see, you know, what's her name, Nori do something bad, they say, "Hey, You're at the back of the line, which it kind of reminds me of like school, where you had to like single file and like you do something bad and the teacher sends you to the back of the line. Like it gave me that kind of vibes.
Yeah, so when she got in trouble for essentially hiding he who does not have a name yet, but we all know who it really is.
Wait. Do we know who he is? Because I have my theories, but is everyone?
Everyone's theory is the same on that one. Okay, like
Okay, all right. Well, let's share it. Let's share it. Whatever.
fine, it's Gandalf. All right, everybody knows it's Gandalf. All right,
But is it Gandalf the White? Is it Gandalf the Gray? Is it Gandalf the Brown? Is it
go
Gandalf the
away,
Black?
go
Or is it
go.
what? We don't know. I think it's Gandalf the Blue. It could be.
Gandalf the blue, fine. Gandalf the red, let's go.
No, I think blue wizards are a thing. They're real. They're a real thing in
I'm
Tolkien
just being
folklore.
facetious. Ignore
Uh,
me.
Listen, I don't know if it's Gandalf, but I do believe it's a wizard. I do believe it's somebody the gods have sent a wizard, and he may be Gandalf. I don't know how old Gandalf is, or it could just be an ancestor of Gandalf. We don't know. The timeline is confusing. I don't know. Also, isn't the what is the other sorcerer's name? Was it Sauron?
Mhm.
Yeah, and isn't he supposed to be older than Gandalf? Hmm. Okay.
Yes, Resi makes a good point. Gandalf the Brown.
Gandalf the Brown. Oh my God. I like that for Salaam nerds.
No,
Make him
Sauron was
busy.
an older evil. He's been there before, and then
So he would be Sauron before he would be Gandalf then.
yeah,
If
and
if he's
so
if he's either.
well, first it was Morgoth, right?
Oh yeah.
And then his orcs spread over Middle Earth, and then Sauron just took over his armies because he was the right.
Yeah.
They did defeat him in the past. I don't know if Gandalf was there in that past, because
Mm.
I only know the trilogy to now, right? I don't know actually the pre-history of the lore or any of that. So I'm a little behind on my knowledge there too.
Sure.
Yeah, but the rumor is that this is Gandalf, and we're gonna have some fun with that.
Okay, cool. Now let's talk about this elf who was at this like tavern, and they got a little racy with homie, man. They were like they called him knife ears. I'm like, whoa, that's a racial slur, I'm sure.
It definitely is. Just like us humans are upset that there are dark skinned people in this. um, we have to talk about that too. Twitter was a shit
Oh my,
with that.
you know what it is? For some reason, I thought we already talked about it, but that was actually Game of Thrones, and the fact that like there's two fantasy worlds that exist where people have problems with people of color is like wild to me.
Hmm.
Oh my God. Like seriously, like what Elijah Wood and Mary Pippin, all of them, they wore like the t-shirts with like elf ears or dwarf ears, and it had like different colors. And I think on Elvish it said something kind of like, hey, fantasy is for everyone or Tolkien is for everyone. And it's so weird, man. It's so weird why people have like issues with people of color being in fantasy. Like, come
It's
on.
fantasy. Who the hell cares? Like, yes, he may have described them as having darker skin, but that doesn't mean they're white. Like, I'm tired of people.
Yeah. And like if you watch the memes out there, there's a lot of videos, not videos, a lot of tweets and stuff by Neil Gaiman, who is, supporting this show and saying,
Hmm.
hey, he knew Tolkien, and basically he had different thoughts as people think. Like people think they know what he thought, but they don't, right? It's one of those things that are really interesting, and I don't know, it's unfortunate, man. It's fantasy, man. Why like I hate that, and
Yep.
we do not support that on this show. So if you're one of those people,
Unsubscribe. Bye.
yeah, it's not worth it to us, man. It's not worth it to have that energy. We ain't about that life. I'm
Right.
sorry.
It's funny. You just mentioned that, right? I also find it funny, like all these other creatures are like, UK accents and dialects,
Yeah.
right? I was like, really? That's also kind of overdone. You know why? I would love to see like, a deep southern, like Missouri accents for like the elves or like for the half the halflings. Could you imagine that? Like just true Southern drawl, like
That
like
would be
really remake it for the modern age.
that would be really funny. It would be
I know,
like
like,
Gone with the Wind accent.
yeah,
I do declare, Gandalf.
like, why not? Why not? This is fantasy. Like,
That's my only Southern phrase, and I do declare.
I beg your pardon.
It reminds me of like that episode of The Office where they kept saying "I do declare." Like that's all. Oh
Well,
man,
that's the thing. Like, like have fun with it. Like,
sure, man. Let's put some L's in like Southern or Texas or whatever you
why
want.
not?
Right.
Elves are Texan.
Texan L's, man. That's what I want to see. I don't care.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go. So there is an elf and there is a woman who works at this bar. Her son has a secret. This little twerp
Mm-hmm.
is hiding a sword, and the sword is bad juju. There's bad
Bad
juju
juju is that
there.
what we're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it. Jazz, describe this sword.
It's technically just the hilt of a sword, right? And
Yeah,
then the more he holds it and the more people are dying around it, the more it comes back to life.
it's
So,
it's really reminiscent of the One Ring, right? Because the thing about the ring is that the ring wants to be found,
mm-hmm.
and I feel like that's the same vibe with this sword. This sword wants to be found, and this sword cut this kid, and it started to grow even more, which is interesting. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, bad juju is gonna come from this sword. This sword has Nuzzer.
It's Sauron's sword. Like that is what it's called, by the way.
Yeah.
It is straight up Sauron's sword, and it's gaining all this because of all the death going on around it. Like, remember the cow when they milked it and nothing like black ooze came out? I'm like,
That was
ooh,
black ooze. That
that was
wasn't
black
chocolate,
ooze.
not chocolate milk,
That was not chocolate milk, my guy.
not Hershey's.
It's not Hershey's. I'm sorry.
Oh, bro, I'm so sad.
I feel like I ruined this for you now. Oh man, rip.
I thought that was Nesquik.
It'd be a small
Uh,
little, anachronism there if we had Nesquik in Middle Earth. But
okay. All right. Well, you know what? Let's move on to episode 2, where
oh, that was
we.
episode 2. We're all over the place with this
I
because
know
the
we're all over the
timelines.
place, man. We were lazy. We didn't do like the first episode when we could. We were tired, man. We were partying with Jai Wolf.
Shout out to Sajib. Thank you for an amazing time.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys recall, but our new intro is from when Sanjeev asked us to go to an EDM festival, and we went and we turned it into an intro. So dopeness.
Yeah, he is the greatest guy. Like, so humble, so amazing. Like, I have nothing but good words to say about him.
Yeah, man, that's the homie. Also, shout out to Dash, who is also the homie.
Yes, Dash, we're gonna get you on for episode 101. Pinky promise.
101. Yes. All right. So let's talk about this elf. He goes and visits the dwarves, and he's like, one of the guys that's like, hey, I love the elves. The way they do their architecture and stuff is really amazing. And then we have Elrond who goes, you know what, man? I know them, man. They're my homies. Don't worry, I got this. I got this. Then he goes in, and they won't let homie in the door. He can't get in the club, man. He got no he got no ID. They won't let him in.
Nope.
No. So he challenges some kind of challenge, and he basically has to win the challenge. And basically, what they do is they break stones with a hammer, and
Yep.
that's where I hear one of the most dopest line ever in this episode, because they do this thing right, and then later on they brought this quote. Let me read it. There can be no trust between a hammer and a rock. Eventually, one or the other must surely break. Dope.
Facts.
Oh God, this is
Facts.
why I love Lord of the Rings. It's the dialogue, it's the quotes, man. They're so good. They're so good. I love that line, and we get to see them break all these like huge rocks. And part of me is like, you know what, man? His hammer breaks while he's breaking the rocks, and instead of like going forward, he quits. And I think a lot of that was like, you know what? He didn't want to win. He wanted to make sure that the dwarf had his pride. So he wanted to put up enough of a show where him winning is respectable. And then
Mhm.
he gives it up, and then he kind of asks him for a favor, which is to walk him out. As he's walking him out, that's when he becomes a politician. That's when he starts smoozing him and starts like, giving him some lines and stuff. And I thought that was pretty good. And then he talks about how, he is mad at him and we do not know why. And we find out it's because homie like missed 20 years of his life. And to an elf, that's nothing, but to him, that's a big deal. And
Right.
I get that, like you had all these like milestones and you weren't there for it. And I would be mad as a friend too. But also, like, some people are like, low maintenance friends where they don't need to check up on you at all times, but they still consider you a great friend. So it's like two different friend languages, I guess. I don't know, not like not love language, but friend language, right?
Friend language,
So
yeah.
yeah, and I like how like he won him back. I thought that was really really cool. What do you think of that, Jazz?
So yeah, I think what was it? Can't remember his name.
It's Prince Durin and Elrond.
No, I'm trying to think of like the actor's name.
Oh,
Arthur. I forgot his first name. His last name's Arthur. He did a great job as Prince Durin here, right? And then when we meet the wife, right? She's like, "Oh, hey, it's Elrond. Come on in for dinner." Like,
love her,
she's just
love
being
her.
like the most hospitable woman ever. Like, nothing happened. Like, yeah, fine. Like, oh, it's been 20 years. No, it's okay. Just come here, sweetheart. Come sit down for dinner. And then Durin's like, no, this is horrible. We're not doing this. And then she just stares at him like, no, he's a guest. And he's like, okay, well, ma'am, yes. Happy wife, happy life, right?
Yo, she could have totally been a Southern dwarf. Like we could have had her in a Southern accent, and like because she has Southern vibes, man. That was Southern
Yeah, she
hospitality
does.
right there.
Yes, Southern hospitality. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. But then he says something which I thought was another amazing, great quote. Here's the quote. So he gives him this like seedling, right? And he uses that seedling to grow this tree.
Mhm.
And he's like, it doesn't really grow in dark places. And then he comes up with this dope line: "Where there is love, it is never truly dark. How could it not grow in a home like yours?"
Damn.
Bro,
Damn.
bro, that's such a good. Yo, I was like, I heard that line. I was like, oh, my heart, forgive him, forgive him,
Hmm.
please. Like, that was a beautiful line. I love the dialogue in this show, man. This dialogue is amazing. Like,
That
so good.
scene was one of my favorite scenes of the whole show so far. Durin, his wife, I believe Disa, and uh Elrond, they're like just just perfect dialogue. Like, it really is just politicians and old friends coming together. And then, you know, when he gets up to leave, and then even he calms down at that point, like, I'm sorry, I've been a shit friend.
Yeah,
Congratulations on your wedding and your kids. And he's like, get back here, you son of a bitch, and give me a hug.
like
It
exactly.
was cute. Like,
This is such a great example on how to repair a friendship and healthy masculinity, right? Like he wasn't
mhm,
letting his pride get into the way of rekindling this friendship. And that's one of the things that Lord of the Rings is really about, right? It's about friendship and fellowship. And, whether it's Gandalf or whether it's Sam and Frodo or whether it's Merry and Pippin, there is so much friendship here, right? And one
mhm,
of the things that really speaks out to me is in Lord of the Rings, where one of the doors says, "Speak, friend, and enter," right? And like all they had to do was say the word "friend," right?
mhm.
And it's one of those things where like the whole point of this whole story is about friendship, and that's really lies the heart of the show. And I feel like in the first three episodes they did such a good job of capturing that. Like I'm in by the third episode. By the second episode I was in. First one was a little rough, but by the second episode I'm like, this is it, man. This is the heart of the show. I love it. Just best way to see a friendship. What do you think?
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. That was like classic Lord of the Rings right there. Like, all throughout, growing up, we always pointed to the hobbits, right? Or even like, uh Legolas and everybody from the original trilogy, right? That was healthy masculinity. That's what it should be. Everyone was gentle, nurturing, and just awesome at the same time, like when they needed to be. And now we're seeing more of it here. It's perfect.
I love it. It's my favorite part of the show,
Mhm.
and I hope to see more of it.
Of course.
And let's move on to the boat because Galadriel is adrift, and she meets these people, and they have a little trouble with the sea worm or whatever that was. And one guy survives, and they kind of just like try to survive in the middle of the ocean, and then a boat comes and rescues them, and then
Mhm.
they end up in this land. It's a land of man, but it's a land gifted to them by the elves. So what happened is, I forgot who this person was. Was it Elrond? Elrond has a twin brother, I believe. Is that
Mhm.
correct? He has a twin brother, and they are both half human and half elf. So what you have to do is you have to choose whether you want to live as an elf or you want to live as a man. And I believe his brother chooses to live as a man, and he goes to this island, and he lives as a man there. And then you see, like, he comes, Galadriel comes there, and she comes off really pompous, and she's like, "We gifted this to you," and
Mhm.
she's
You owe
really,
us.
yeah, she's really arrogant, like, "Give me a ship, give me this, give me that," like she is something special, and it's like, girl, calm down, you ain't the shit. She had
Trying to
that.
start a fight with the queen. It was really funny.
She was having a Karen moment, man. She was like a
Mhm.
Karen.
Straight up, yes.
Yeah. And then basically they put her in her place, but there is a man with her also, and he kind of talks some sense into them. And we
Also from
learn
the shipwreck. Mhm.
also from the shipwreck, and we learn that he may be a king of the Southlands.
Maybe.
Well, we find out he is, right? Um
They give it away, my guy, like straight
I
up.
know,
He's like, I've seen that crest before. It's like, yeah, I picked up a dead guy. It's like, shut up, you liar. You're
I
way you're way too good at being a politician to ease attention in that room, to get us, food and like a place to stay for 3 days. Like he
know.
knew what he was doing. He was way too good. Oh, he also knows how to fight really well.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
when he
yeah,
tried to
yeah.
steal the guild work the steelworkers guild thing, right?
Yep.
Like it was like 5-on-1 and he beat all them up. Like
Yeah, yeah, he kicked their butts, man.
yeah,
Still went to
and he
jail
could
though,
do it.
but he kicked their
He
butt.
could do it. He went to jail, right? He's like, okay, wait a second. I can't take on guys with armor and
Yeah,
actual weapons, but I can take on 5 drunk guys here. Like, it's not a problem.
yeah, yeah. I think his name was Halbrook. Is that what Halbert?
Albert.
Uh, Halbert, right? So who is this man? And is he a descendant of Aragon? Is he a descendant of Boromir? Uh, do we know? Why are you laughing? Like, are we supposed to know, or are we not supposed to know?
He is
Is he in?
uh mhm.
Wait, of who? Of Boromir or Aragon? Let's look it up. Let's Google it. The googly googly. I
Rings
think
of
it's
power.
because I think what happens is he is a guy who decides not to throw the ring away. And that
Yes,
person,
he takes Thoron's ring and runs back into the woods, if I recall.
yes. So we know that's going to happen.
Mhm.
Uh, we know a lot of things that are going to happen. This is not that kind of show where you don't know what's going to happen. We know the destination. The point of the show is the journey, right?
Mhm.
Kind of like House of the Dragon. Not too different. Like, we know where it's going, but now we know the journey. It's kind of the same vibe. Um, I think it's interesting, and we going to just because we get to really like him, and we get to really like fall in love with his character, but we know where he's going. We know what's going to happen
Right.
at the very end, and now we're like watching this show, and we're invested in how he gets there, and I think that's going to be really, really interesting.
I would love to see how, the rings of power and the one ring to rule them all like corrupts him along the way. But
Yeah.
like I don't even know if he's corrupted along the way because like he said, his ancestors sided with Morgoth, right?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is they're the few people of man. The ones that sided with Morgoth, they got the shit lands. They got like really good bad stuff, and the elves basically punished them for the sins of their ancestors, right? Which is
Mhm.
why the guy called him Knife Ears, because of the way the elves kind of like treat man. Uh, so this is why it's a little different. And then these people are like special because they chose the right side, and they get
Mhm.
to live in this special island and stuff. So it's really, really interesting. Also, if you're in the comments right now, let us know what you think, man. Tell us your favorite parts. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want to talk about. What are your favorite quotes from the show? Let us know.
Mhm. Who was that guy? The God, I just saw this episode. His name means elf friend.
That was the captain, the ship captain. The ship captain's
Yeah.
name. Yeah,
I
yeah.
really like him. I
Yeah.
think he may be my new favorite character on the show right now.
He seems like a really good stand-up like hero protagonist that we are going to get to really like, and he has these two kids. I feel like something's going to happen with their his son and his daughter. We don't know where that's going to go, but
Wait,
I'm excited to see that.
it's his son who took the ring.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Our
come back
homie
to me.
our homie Just Huge is saying rings of power, is it worth it? Listen, you know what, first episode's a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little rough. Second episode gets better. By the third episode, you're in. You're in. It's a slow burn.
Very
Slow
slow
burn.
burn.
Uh, do
Here's
not
the
watch
thing.
it late at night. Watch it when you have energy.
Right. One thing I will tell you is that it's 5 seasons, right? Amazon's committed to 5 seasons allegedly, until somebody pulls the plug, right? So because they have 5 seasons, they are gonna do it very slowly. It's not gonna be like, Miss Marvel. It's like, all right, here's 6 episodes, do everything. So yeah, $1 billion slow burn. Absolutely correct. Right. Do you would I watch it? I'm watching it, right? I'm interested in this for the next 5 seasons. How it's gonna go, I do not know, but right now it's very slow.
Oh, so Just Huge just said that he had never seen Lord of the Rings. I wonder, is it better to watch this show without watching the Lord of the Rings? Imagine doing all 5 seasons of this and then watching Lord of the Rings. It's kind of like watching the prequels of Star Wars in order. That would be a cool experience.
Man, I'm a big fan of machete order for Star Wars, which is 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, 7, Rogue One, and I don't know.
Yeah, but
Right?
you won't know Machete Order until it's all done. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Ruzzy, I actually won't want to agree with him. The first trilogy, then the Hobbit trilogy, just masterful, right?
Yeah,
Don't
I
watch the
remember.
extended cut if you can. Like, I appreciate that so much. Hey, he
Also,
might do it.
also, Just Huge. If you're watching Lord of the Rings, yo, there's a lot of content there. Like, if,
A
I think
lot of content.
if you want to do some TikToks about it or you want to make some videos about it, it'll be good stuff, man. It'll be cool to see the impression of somebody who's never seen it, right? I would love to know what your thoughts on about that. So yeah,
Mhm.
man, do it, man. Just do it for the content.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I'd recommend that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, fine, but the first trilogy
Jazz,
extended cinematic cut.
Jazz, we got to read out the comments because the people listening don't know what the comments are.
Right, right, right.
Jazz is out here just like freaking like responding to the comments, and like I'm like, yo, people on Spotify and Apple Podcasts
I
can't
keep
see this.
forgetting we're on like multi-platform.
Yeah, yeah. So Rati is like the Hobbit was terrible. It should have been one movie or maybe two, not three. Fair statement. I agree. I feel like they dragged that on too much. Let's see, and then we got some people in the comments, man. Oh shit. Let's see what
Yeah, we're having a real convo now.
Ibrahim Ekram. He says, I'm having a
Maybe
hard
he's
time
a big
understanding what's
fan.
going
He
on
listens to us nonstop. It's great.
without seeing the support video. Okay,
Mhm,
cool, man. Oh yeah, it's Ibrahim. Oh yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Well, yeah, man. Listen, man. I try to do a little bit of research before I do a podcast episode, and if there are things that I can explain, I will love to do it. Just Huge got more comments. He says, "How does it compare to Game of Thrones? It kind of seems like they're trying to compete with Amazon, or is Amazon trying to compete with HBO? It does feel like they're competing with Game of Thrones, but like I said, Game of Thrones and Rings of Power are two different things. It's kind of like, how do I describe it? It's like watching. Um, all right, Vic. It's like a Ferrari and a beefed up, you know, what's a really fancy sports car? I don't know,
A BMW.
a BMW, I guess, right? No, not even that. I don't know. It's weird because I feel like Game of Thrones is goes for the cheap shots. They go for gratuities. They go for these like sex scenes. They go for like,
It's edgy.
yeah, edgy, and like where, because they lack a little bit in storytelling. Whereas this is just like rich and it's slow and it's just like more kid friendly and family friendly. I guess. It's different, man. It's different. Like
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to
Rosie
describe.
says this is the chronological order, which is Rings of Power, then the 3 Hobbit movies, then Lord of the Rings. And as he said, the extended edition is solid. Highly recommend that. So it would be interesting to see somebody who's never seen it go through it in chronological order, but this will take like 5-10 years to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I honestly would just say, yo, my guy, just start with Lord of the Rings and just go dive into it. Yep, George R. R. Martin reveres J.R. Tolkien, the creator of Lord of the Rings. This is zero facts. In fact, Game of Thrones is based like, a more edgy Lord of the Rings. 100% true. And so, just huge. Good die with chocolate or Hershey's. Bro.
Yeah, I guess Game of Thrones and yeah, it could be described that way. Sure. Lord of the Rings is Godiva chocolate made in like the European mountains, and Hershey is made here in Pennsylvania, the home of the Phillies.
They're both good, all right. Like they're cool, like they're very nerdy. Especially if you get like into more of the lore of both Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Like we don't see a lot of it on TV, right? You really need to dive into it to truly appreciate all of it. Whether you have time for that, I don't know, but I do, and I'm gonna do it, and it's great.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
Ibby, are we doing spoiler discussions? Yes, part of this. So we're gonna avoid spoilers for what we know is gonna happen between the latest episode and what's already happened in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy. So yeah, we're not. Rosie's like Neebs and Jazz. I'm not Madison.
Wait, I don't understand that. Why are we not Madison with two N's and Y, but not where you think?
Yeah. We're not giving it all away right now, and
Oh,
so
gotcha.
we're only gonna spoil what's been released. We're not gonna spoil anything upcoming.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. Oh, the spoilers.
Soprano spoilers.
That's what he
15
meant.
years. Yep, fair.
But listen, my favorite things about the show are the quotes. And every week, I'm going to give you guys my favorite quotes. And I already give you two of them. There's one more quote that I really like is Galadriel. And she goes, "How am I to know which light to follow?" And Finrod says, "Sometimes we cannot know until we have touched the darkness." Dope line.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Beautiful.
I love this show so much because of these lines, man. Game of Thrones, like they have good lines, but not like this, man. Not like this. These are good lines, and definitely it's the dialogue and the friendships. That's what we're here for, man. It's the friends we make
Mhm.
along the way. That's what we're here for. I'm here to make friends along the way, and I'm really excited for the show. Jazz, what are your final thoughts?
Ooh, ooh. Do I want to jump into what Ibby's asking here, which is, are you doing any theories? Because he has a question. Oh man. Final thoughts. You know what? I'm gonna reserve it because I actually am curious about this question. Ibby, go ahead, man. Ask your question. In the meantime, we'll talk a little bit more.
Yo, we got to do
uh,
more shows on Sunday, man. Our comment sections are
it's
lit on
lit
Sunday.
today. Yeah. My God. Going I don't know if we even covered episode 3 properly. I feel like we only got like, a third of the way in because we haven't even talked about the orcs or the way that they were like tunneling underground and uh how they like were avoiding the sunlight and how they were moving through the lands, right? We haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about that one fight scene at the very end where
Oh, with the change, we didn't talk about that. That was
yeah,
so good.
like
Okay, I gotta lie. A part of that chain scene kind of took me out because it gave me like kung fu like hustle vibes, like the animation. I mean, not the animation, but the fighting stuff and the chains. But it was still really really cool to see.
mhm.
I really like that. And then when you see like they got away, and then you see that guy get shot with arrows, and you're like, yo, it's hopeless. It felt hopeless to get out of that. But it's really cool, and I like seeing the orcs having trouble with light and the way they use that to their advantage. Really cool. I totally forgot about that scene. Yeah, good. Thanks for bringing that
Mhm.
up.
Or the way they killed one of the was it Allandir's like tower mates with the
Yeah,
water scene, like that was brutal. I actually thought that was like a really good orc scene,
yeah.
right? I think they did the orc scenes there very well, and very excited to see how they continue that.
Mm.
Ibby has a suspicion that Sora might be one of the characters we met or will meet with the Secret Invasion. Oh, I'm guessing you haven't seen the movies.
Mm.
Okay, I'm not saying it.
Well, why don't you watch the movie then get back to us?
Oh, yep. Sauron goes by many names. Yeah, that's true.
That is
That's
true.
true. It could be a different name. We don't know.
We do not know. I don't know, man. I'm gonna hold my theories for next time because I'm just getting into it, right? And we're starting the show off, and a lot of people are not. They're review bombing it. They're saying a lot of bad things about it, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Like it's Lord of the Rings, man. It's just a slow burn. It's taking
I
a
know.
while, but it's good.
That's the thing about fandoms. I hate fandoms. Like they want everything to be exactly like it was in the books, and some directors take some creative liberties, and
Yeah,
that's expected. You should be fine with that, right? Like there are some criticisms I can understand, right? Like when I mentioned earlier that the king was like, "Hey, you go to heaven," right? That doesn't happen in the books at all, and that's almost problematic, right? But the halflings being darker, that's not a fair criticism.
no, it definitely isn't. And like, why is every fandom like that? There isn't a single fandom that's like can avoid this. It's so weird.
What Rusty just said.
Sophism, nerd salafism.
Very, very true, my guy. Oh my god.
Oh man, oh man. What else have we not talked about? I feel like we covered everything I had on my list. You have anything else?
I'm trying to think back just because like we jumped around so much in this thing. Um oh. You know how they call Sauron a different name,
Yeah,
right? That's an
yeah.
elven word. Why are the orcs using that name?
But aren't orcs like used to be elves?
See, this is where it's going to get really interesting because this is something that we haven't actually figured out.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what they're hinting. This could either be a complete, uh, screw up on Amazon's part,
Mm.
or it's going to tie into something much greater. And it could be one of two extremes. I don't know what it's going to be.
So the lore that
So
I've heard is that orcs were former elves and that have like kind of turned to the dark side, right? And then goblins are something else, and then there were the necromancers, and there's all these different types of like people.
there's like a whole host of character sets. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I feel like they'll get to it. 5 seasons, and we are not even halfway through season one. So there's a lot to go, and I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to it. I like. Oh, the other thing is the dwarves. They had this weapon in a box. What do you think that was?
I'm not giving that away.
Oh, you're not giving that away? Okay.
I'm
Because
giving that away.
wait, can I give my theory?
You can give your theory. Fine.
I think is what is it called? I forgot. Mithril, where it's like the chain that like Frodo wore to protect him.
Okay.
I thought that's what it was. I don't
Yeah,
know.
good theory. Good
You
theory. I
think?
like it.
Yeah. All right.
I like it.
Cool. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm wrong. Um. All right.
Back to
Is
the
there,
comment section. Anything else? Thoughts on? You mean Ezra? We'll do a wrap up of Star Wars a bit
oh
later.
yeah. Yes. We're gonna
We're
do
gonna
a
do a
whole
whole recap of
D.
D23
Yeah.
like probably tomorrow or day after. So we'll get to that. And actually, man, should we invite Just Huge again?
Just huge, man. You want to come back on the show, man? Let's do it. Let's get you
Yeah, we
on.
could do a recap of D23 tomorrow or day after or whenever. So
We got a
we'll
whole
reach
new
out.
platform, new program, all this cool stuff. So yeah, man, we'll have to have you back on. We got look at all these cool little digital thingies that we can do. It's so much fun.
You're having way too much fun, my guy.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we got, man. We got to leave them wanting more. So we're already at 50 minutes. We usually do not go this far up, but since it was 3 episodes to cover, we went a little extra long. But let us know, and don't forget every Tuesday, every Thursday, and maybe now even every Sunday. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to be on YouTube, and come on, join us, talk to us.
Mhm.
It's going to be lots of fun, man.
Yeah, Ruzzy, Just Huge, Ibby, thank you guys so much for coming on. We had a great time talking to you, reacting live to the comments. I mean, this is great. We look forward to seeing y'all more on these things. And hopefully one day we can get y'all on too.
Yeah, man. And until next time, guys, Salaam nerds.
Peace.